Comes the other way, steps for three, and hit it. Jason Lawhead gives the Spartans a 5-4 lead. Back comes Illyria up top on the inbound. Flips it left side to Lawhead. He'll launch another three and hit it. Jason Lawhead with an NBA three on that one. Gives it deep in the corner to Lawhead for three, and he hit another one. Lawhead with 9 3-pointers.
What's up? I love that intro. Because that intro, not only is it the glory days, that intro is the voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Tim Alcorn, who was a long-time voice of high school basketball in my county, Lorain County, back in the day, and a guy that has been close to the family for many years with my dad being a head coach at Lorain Cav. He called many of his games all the way to his retirement. And then just has always been that guy that's just been the synonymous voice with local high school basketball. And the coolest part about him is what I can totally relate to, first off, is that he grinded. He grinded in the small, tiny market, doing the best job ever every time he did it. High school football, high school basketball, mostly some high school baseball when teams would go for like deep runs in the state, or softball. But basically his bread and butter was basketball and football. He's a great football announcer, high school football announcer. But his bread and butter was basketball, and he just grinded. And I had worked with him when I was a young buck coming out of some broadcasting school and getting a chance to be on AM radio doing some high school sports. A much younger guy that didn't have a real focus on where I wanted to go exactly in life and what I wanted to be. But it was fun. It was a great experience. I got to do some sideline reporting and some color commentating for basketball with him on an occasion. So Tim Alcorn, the voice of that intro. And that intro is my old audio podcast, Lawhead's Court, that I ran from like 2013 to 2017 before I kind of just disbanded it and, felt like I had run my course on it. It had run its course. It had kind of become a source of depression for me after a while because, you start comparing yourself and why am I only at these numbers? How long, all that kind of stuff. But that intro was set up by my good buddy, Mike Casentini, and Rena Marie Villano, who ran the network studios back in LA where I used to do that. And so he took that audio that I had, obviously the play-by-play, in different games, and he was able to lay the NFL behind it. And so I've always loved that. I always just kept that little audio intro piece. So it's Lawhead's Court Live, and so that's how cool that is. And now Tim Alcorn is the Cavs announcer, and he found that out. He found that out just days before he was doing my wedding, because he would do DJ for friends on the side. He had a business when he was younger, so he would still dip in and do a wedding here or there. And so he was still working in the summer of 2019. He was still working at WEOL, doing all of their major sales and broadcasting. And the Cavs were looking for a radio play-by-play voice. After, unfortunately, Fred, God, his name's blanking me now. We got a comment in here in the comment section. Is that funny? All the NFL films music is public domain. Is that, I don't, it's fun. I didn't know that. Telling me all the NFL music, but he found out like 5 days before he was going to do my wedding. And Fred McLeod, thank you, God. He had that tragic passing. And then they moved the radio, who was new. Joe Tate hadn't been gone long. And Alcorn got the call after being a long-time name in the area, having worked with Joe Tate on many occasions in the past. Tate was a guy that had went to bat for him down the road, and here he is calling one of the best teams in basketball. If not the best team in the Eastern Conference, we'll see. Last night was something to see, Stock. I'm sure you watched the game last night with a makeshift starting lineup that went out and blitzed the Heat in the fourth quarter after it kind of looked like it was going to be one of those games where it was just like, this is the best they can do, down 10 or 11, and, take it for another day. But interesting to see a G League team beat the Heat. Yeah, I mean, when you look at the roster and what they got from the bench last night, the Cleveland Charge, what they got from the bench last night, the plus minus from the bench and the steady play. I think I said it last week or in week one on this thing. Lonzo Ball, right? If he can stay in that uniform, he's not. His assist to turnover ratio is great right now. He's a guy that stays in the game over the 4 quarters you ask him to play, no matter how many minutes you play. I feel like whether he's not having his best game or he's having a good game, he's a guy that can always make a play. He's always staying engaged through it and can make a play. So even if he doesn't look pretty and maybe his stat line isn't pretty, whatever minutes you get out of him, whether there's some starting minutes that are in the 30s or there's some bench minutes that are in the high teens to 20s, he's got the ability, unlike Ty Jerome, he's got the ability to really go make a play, and he doesn't have to score to make it. The Cavs needed, going back to a Ty Jerome, perfect example. The Cavs needed more guys that have flexibility at their position that can make plays without being a scorer. And I think if Lonzo Ball can stick in there, he's that type of player. They had too many guys that really only make plays if they're scoring the ball, and they really don't make any other plays outside of that. Jerome, perfect example. Even though he was scrappy, whatever, but he's not a, DeAndre Hunter, at least what the Cavs really expect from a DeAndre Hunter. I think the Cavs expect a little bit more than they've gotten from DeAndre Hunter. Not to say that he's been bad, but I think the Cavs expected a little bit more Andre Iguodala. Just that sense of go knock you off your block along with the game that you have. Ball, that's what I've said. That oversight, we've always been undersized in the matchups in the playoffs. You can't get away with that too much. The Knicks have kind of proved in a way where they're at year whatever they are with this core, even though they've added Towns, it's basically just an addition to what they've already built. But the Knicks are a perfect example of a team maybe just always too undersized where Brunson is in matchups when it comes to having to deal with a team in a 7-game series. And you see where foul trouble starts. You don't see foul trouble in the NBA regular season, but you saw a guy like Brunson constantly get into foul trouble in those series, in all these series that they have not had a chance to bust through in this last year, the year before. So you got to have that. And maybe Ball, Hunter, combination of what you get minutes out of. I mean, down the road and in certain matchups, you got to hope Atkinson has the forethought and is leaning into certain matchups to go, if we see these guys, these are most likely the bodies that will make us a better team on the floor over a certain amount of minutes than if we see these guys. So I think that's where a lot of championships are won and lost or finals appearances, you get to, is being able to look at I like Thomas Bryant. Big fan. You need a bruiser, too. You need a guy that you're willing to go in there, and it's like, hey, Jared Allen, you're going to disappear in game 4 or whatever it is against the Celtics. We will go get a bouncer and put a guy in there to work the door, so to speak. And so who can also step out in a double-team kick-out and be a guy that you lose on the offensive end, and Thomas Bryant just all of a sudden hits a 3. He hits a 3. What? Or, he goes and scores 4, 6, 8 points in a row because you've let Thomas Bryant just slip away. He's known for that. So, the Cavs, off to a good start. You can't expect, high 60 wins every year. I'd rather see this team fall back in the win department a little bit, not a lot. You don't want them to start questioning themselves, but you want them to fall back a little bit in the win department, win games like this more often than not, and win the games in the bigger matchups that you have when you have your big names out there. And, look, just go into the playoffs now with a mindset that says, you know what? No reason to celebrate. Don't celebrate the regular season. Don't celebrate, winning the division. Don't celebrate the 1 seed, even if you get it. Act like you expected it. It's like popping champagne when you clinch the wild card. Don't do it. And just go and then move on to what the job is next. Because the East right now, man, it's theirs. It's theirs for the taking. It was last year, but they didn't know it was. They didn't figure on what Indiana was going to bring to the table last year. But Indiana looks not so poised to be the team that they were last year, which, they're just not going to be. I just don't see them, holding up to what they did last year with the personnel that they have and what's out there in the East. Look at this, Detroit, right? A team like Orlando that can maybe come out of nowhere and put it all together later on in the season. Who knows? I mean, who knows who might be the next team that crawls out of, oh, yeah, man, they've been pretty good for a while. We'll see. But the Cavs in the East, it's there for the taking, man. And you look at the West could beat each other up this year. I know OKC's right out of the gate and won a big one last night and humbled the Lakers after the start that they've had. But let's be honest, the Lakers just aren't a very good the Lakers just aren't a very good defensive team. I mean, yeah, they've gotten obviously Luka in great shape, and he looks great, and he is great, and Austin Reeves is playing great. But I want to know, the question I'll have is, what will Austin Reeves' numbers look like when LeBron comes back? That right now, the Lakers, it's interesting. The Lakers are, outside of last night, I was looking at some stats. They're shooting like 64% from the field on 2-point shots. They're averaging about 27 assists a game as a team, and without LeBron. But LeBron's going to take some of those assists away. Austin Reeves isn't going to get 9 assists a game with LeBron's hands on the ball. And how effective will Luka's overall stat numbers look like? His points per game will look the same probably, or right around it, even if he drops off a little. His rebounds per game, because he's out there, and his assists a game may drop off a little with LeBron's hands on the ball. But it's going to be interesting to see how that offense functions as a whole. Will they shoot 62, 60, or 64% from 2-point field goal range going forward? Was that a small sample size? I mean, look, 30.3 a game and 9 assists from Austin Reeves is a small sample size in the big picture. But in the LeBron James out of the lineup picture, it becomes a little bit better sample size when you're just comparing it with what the Lakers do with LeBron on the floor as opposed to what they do without him with these younger guys that have come along. Adding Ayton. LeBron's never played with Ayton. Adding that big-sized guy with other guys that are moving the ball around. So if Luke is averaging, 12 assists, and Reeves is averaging 9 assists, that tells you, and they're shooting 64% from 2-point field goal range. LBJ, I don't know. I don't know when LBJ will be back, but he is playing with the ironically, his son's on the Lakers, and he's playing with the G League team right now. So he's moving around. Right, Ayton might stink. Ayton might stink, but my point is he'll probably stink more with LeBron out there. My point is maybe his stinking is serviceable for the size and the shot altering he does with Reeves and Luka and the other guys that they've got touching the ball and getting it around and finding it. My whole point is, I think a 41-year-old, what is he, 40? He'll be 41 this year. I think a 40 going on basically a 41-year-old LeBron is probably, unless he can do what we talked about last week, Chamberlain went to LA and said, I don't need to score. And if you write a column that says I'm washed up and I can't score anymore, tomorrow night I'm going to go have 42 just to tell you I still can, but I want to win and I want to win a title. If LeBron could do that, which I don't know if he can play like that. I don't know if LeBron can just, he would have to be like that old guy, like that, plays that big defensive play and everybody else runs down the court and he just stands there on the defense and doesn't need to get involved like Chamberlain used to. And the older Kareem, they would make the big block and let the young guys cattle herd it down the court. And if it goes out of bounds, I'll come on down and we'll take it in from the side out. But if LeBron could maybe just play that, but, does he want to play that just give it all physical type of basketball, sacrifice the offensive end, sacrifice those types of things to play that kind of old Laker Chamberlain style? We'll do whatever we got to do to win it. I don't think he can. I don't think he will. I don't think that's why he's a Laker. I think if he had any of that in him, it would have to come out right now. And it would have to be just something where you really go, wow, look at this guy. Look at this guy going for 12 points. Oh, yeah, of course he will. He will never let you look up his career and in the last year or two see 15.5 points per game or 13.8 points per game. Even if he had the 8 assists, 8.5, 9 assists, the 7.5, 8 rebounds, the 2 or 3 steals. Maybe the steals go up and the blocks go up because he's putting more effort in to the defensive end. He would never care if those 2 stats, steals and blocks, went up a few decimal points, because the points per game would have to come down to something that looks like he's human. Whereas Chamberlain said, I don't care, whatever, 14 points a game, who cares? There goes the cat. That's the thing I got to remember. Maybe I have to push this show to this happened last week. The cat feeders go off. And talk about seasonal depression. These cats. Man, when the clocks changed, it freaked these cats out because they're on a mind clock. I should have noticed they were walking around about 10 minutes ago. They came from their sleep. But these cats, dude, they got the seasonal depression too. They're getting all irritable when the clocks changed. And my wife reset the feeder to the actual time that it'll go up. And then they were basically an hour from that for the first week, dude. They were like, the big one was like starting to push on it like a redneck on a Mountain Dew machine, just like, they're like, nah. I swear to God, I was just like, what? Just to watch that behavior, like day 2, that it was not having it around lunchtime. It started like beating and pushing the thing up against the wall. You got a whole meal right here. So, same for me, yeah. I got that seasonal depression. I just got off of that week of that seasonal depression. It's called the Jets-Browns game. That was like the perfect time. I literally got sick. I just picked myself up off the mat today. This morning I woke up. I look like Michael Keaton from Mr. Mom in that scene when he was like watching the soap operas. He just let himself go. I was so sick for 3 days. And the funny thing is I got sick. I got sick literally during the start of the Browns game. I swear to God, head congestion started right around then. I was like, oh no, please no. Head congestion started Sunday morning because here it's 10 a.m. I woke up. I was like kind of like coughing a little, and I had like my nose. And then within an hour kickoff, like the whole head was just congested and irritated. By the second kick return. I had 100 fever. I was like, it felt terrible. And then it moved from like Sunday, all game time. It was just awful the rest of the Sunday. Monday, it moved from like here to like to the nose and the throat and the cough. Then it went down into the chest. Yeah, Dylan Gabriel. Maybe it was Dylan Gabriel. Maybe I got a little bad case of Dylan Gabriel because, man, it was down here. And then by like Tuesday, it was starting to rise. But then it came back up. And it went in here, went down through here. Oh, man, that felt hot. Then it just came back up through. And by the time he had announced that he was still going to be the starting quarterback, it was back into my head congestion. So by the time Stefanski said Dylan Gabriel going forward, it had moved all the way back up again. So maybe I caught a little case of the Dylan Gabriels. Maybe it's a short, acute problem, and let's hope it goes away quickly. That's the Dylan Gabriel virus. It's a short, acute problem that we hope goes away quickly. But boy, it'll linger. You didn't even think you could get it. Yeah, it's bad. It's a bad scene there. And that's the thing I wanted to talk about off of the top of the show, really. At the end of the day, like, this is not even – I was saying the other day, what's incredible about how bad these Browns are is that in 2025 is there's not even that many good teams this year. I mean, when you look at what you expect out of the NFL – and not just because the Chiefs are down or the Bills aren't maybe what they used to be. I'm talking about across the board. There just isn't a lot of the defending champs defensively may have looked like them again for the first time last week, right? And they're 7-2. Their record's great, but that's because there's just a lot of bad football teams out there. And there's teams that are losing to bad football teams when you're like, wait, are they supposed to be any good? Like, so that's you're like. I mean, the AFC North is probably the biggest disappointment in football in a long time. The NFC West is pretty crazy because it looks like Seattle and maybe the Rams. These two teams might be the two best teams in football, and they're on the West Coast, and LA's LA, but like. It takes a while for them to really show up on the NFL radar as somebody that's really good, especially if you got the Eagles as the defending champs. You've got the Lions right now playing good. The Bears at 6-3, which is, congrats on the Bears for getting it right. Congrats on the Bears for getting a really good coach. Congrats on the Bears for, taking the chances and not just going to get Caleb Williams, but having the mind to just stick with him through a new coaching regime and see if he can be the guy with Ben Johnson. Stafford is playing like an MVP, probably right now the front runner, if you were to put it like that. And the Rams are a good team. Look, McVay, I've always said it from day one. That dude can coach. That Sean McVay is still pretty young, but was always young. Only have a season. Caleb stinks. Only have a season. Okay. All right. We'll return 12:53 p.m. on November, whatever day it is. We'll return to that. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's the number one pick. I don't think he's the guy they should have invested in. But McVay, that dude can coach. And Sean McVay has been or was or kind of still is. He's a young what everybody thought Gruden was. He's actually the whatever everybody thought Gruden was when Gruden was young. Gruden's got a Super Bowl. Can't knock it. God bless him. Whatever. Funny guy. I love his pregame shows. I love his YouTube, breakdowns. He's great at all that. Entertaining fella. That's his top talent is being that guy. And obviously he's not a Sean McVay. Not many guys are, and as much as I like Shanahan, and he's had to deal and cope with a lot, through injuries all over the defense to great skilled players hurt and going away. Is he? Is McVay a sexist and a racist? I didn't know that. I just I had no idea. McVay is a sexist and a question mark. I didn't know that. But I just think he's a good coach. I think Gruden, Gruden is, that's for sure. I gotta tell you, I used to do a John Gruden, and then I used to do a John Gruden before. Frank Caliendo did, but Caliendo is the best at impressions. So once he brought his out, I was like, no more doing Gruden. But I used to do a Gruden back when he first started doing Monday Night Football. I gotta tell you, Mike, this guy here is a football player on a football team. He would just say, like, yeah, of course he is. Thanks, John. He used to do this bit about, like, is that how he sexts his wife? Like, I gotta tell you, honey, you're making me harder than trying to cover 2 on 3rd down along with a read option. I gotta tell you, you're making me harder than it is to defend Josh Allen right now. I gotta tell you, this guy. Look at here. But anyway, the NFL, not even really good this season. Not a lot of teams that impress me. Even the teams that I'm trying to look over to and go, oh, okay, well, these guys are this record. Maybe they're, hey, Dolphins go beat the Bills. Bills beat the Chiefs. Chiefs lose to everybody. Chiefs are 5-4. And, everybody's trying to tell us how great the Chiefs are in the last 2 weeks. It's like, the Chiefs are like the economy. Everybody's like, the Chiefs. I'm like, they're 5-4. And they might go 5-6 the next 2 games they have. NFL is boring so far. It's totally boring. College football right now is sitting in the catbird seat because the NFL, it's, what's interesting about the college game is, say what you will about NIL, say what you will about transfers, say what you will about any of that stuff. Right now, college football has more parity than it's ever had. And the NFL in my opinion, is having less parity. And less parity in the sense, what I mean is less parity. I feel like it's a little bit more predictable. Now, Ohio State to me right now, and it's not because I'm biased, they really look like they're primed and ready to win a second national title in a row. There's some good teams out there. Indiana, as much as they had a close game, that's going to happen. But what did they do? They closed that close game against a team that was a preseason number 2, desperate for a win, trying to find its identity, already feeling like they played a good half against Ohio State, and let's put 2 halves together against Indiana. So Indiana is pretty good. Georgia's pretty good. I don't know if anybody else is good enough to beat Ohio State, barring some major injuries or whatever happens. College football is crazy. Anything can happen. I will say that. But right now, they look more primed than Philadelphia to repeat. Although Philadelphia may just repeat based on the fact that the NFL is just not that great this year. And the AFC really, really looks down. I mean, the AFC, what you thought was going to be Buffalo, probably the Chiefs again. A lot of people thought. I didn't think the Chiefs. I made a future bet against the Chiefs before this season back in May that they would miss the playoffs. That bet's still alive. I mean, they're in the seeding area to be the last team, but right now that bet's still alive. But people thought maybe the Chargers and Herbert. It feels like Herbert always kind of hits a little ceiling or a bump in the road enough not to go to that next level that we expect him to. Josh Allen, as great as he is, a lot of times you just finally go, well, Josh Allen, is he going to stop just like disappearing enough? He just like goes through the bushes, like that Homer Simpson. He just too many times over the last several years, he just slips into that Homer Simpson disappearing in the bush and then kind of reappearing. And you're like, oh, he's back. And he just kind of, right? Dolphin, all of that. All of that happens. And do they have the coach that can win it all? Maybe it's a McDermott Allen combination that they're just not going to bust through together. Sometimes coaches and quarterbacks just can't get it done, and you got to go replace the one or the other, or the coach has to go somewhere else after being replaced and find himself another quarterback, or the quarterback needs another coach. Like, that's just the way it is. Maybe McDermott and Allen have run their course. Totally opposite to what Reed and Mahomes have been able to do. Maybe this guy in Philly, maybe he's going to win 6 Super Bowls in his career, and this is just going to be the second of 2 or 3 in a row. Who knows? I mean, the way the NFL looks and the way it's structured right now, if the Eagles can go back and repeat and come back with most of these same players, who's out there in the NFL? I mean, it doesn't scare me. The NFL doesn't scare me. Now, are the Eagles playing incredible football? No. But can they start? Yes. So right now, I wanted to look this up. I forgot to. There was things I was thinking about in the shower. When was the last time, if not ever, that the college football and the Super Bowl champion repeated? You'd have to obviously go back. Easiest thing to do is go look at all the Super Bowl repeats in the Super Bowl era. It only started so long. Look at all the repeats in the Super Bowl and then go match up the national champion. Has anyone ever won a back-to-back, same schools, same NFL team? Somebody do the research on that. I need a research department. Maybe we can get on Craigslist. I'll get a research department. Anyway, college football right now has expanded its parity. It's got a 12-team playoff that may go to 16. Now you've got a bunch of games with some teams. And people say NIL, this transfer. Well, it's starting to look a little bit more like pro football. Whether you like it or not, I think it's going to continue to improve the parity of college football. Will there always be the Ohio States and Alabamas? Yeah. But look, Michigan can slide off the cliff like that. A Michigan with a Harbaugh, they can slide off the cliff like that and have to pick themselves up. A Penn State can slide off the cliff like that and have to pick themselves up and be replaced by another team, by a Vanderbilt, by a somebody else. So the great thing about college football right now is that it has everything working for it when it comes to the playoff, when it comes to more parity, when it comes to unpredictability on where this quarterback came from, where he might be. And it's got the playoff through December. And when the NFL has a bunch of crap teams and a bunch of teams that people like the New Orleans, Cleveland, and the Jets, and the Giants, and the Dolphins, and Titans, Cardinals, and all these just crap teams that are piling up by December, when December rolls around. College football's best teams are showcasing themselves. And so, you've got a ranking system in college football that keeps you to there's a lot of parity here, and there's a 12-team playoff. And even though there's 14 teams that make the playoffs in the NFL, for some reason, this college playoff is building momentum. And the NFL, the playoffs are great, but this has been a boring season, and it is pulling teeth to get to these playoffs. And last year's Super Bowl was a blowout. And if the Eagles repeat, you're just kind of looking at a league that doesn't have a ton of great teams. And you're kind of going, it's starting to get a little bit more predictable. College football, that was always the predictable ones. Even though you watched a season and there was some rankings back in the day, it was Alabama, these 2 teams. These 8 other teams don't have a chance. Well, now there's a whole bunch of teams that have a chance, and there's some new teams that are diving in and diving out. And there's some old traditions that are rising to the top and then falling apart. Have reported a championship? No, exactly. from the same city or not. Yeah. So that says from the same city or region, though. No NFL team or college football team from the same city or region ever repeated championship. So I mean, I guess that still means that no. I don't know. Let's say, I was saying, has there been like the 2 years the Steelers won it back to back? If there weren't back to if there weren't back to back national champions per AI, or the 2 years the Cowboys won it back to back national champions. This year, theoretically, the way it looks, the Eagles and Ohio State could be repeat champions. And because, I mean, if the Eagles go into the playoffs, I don't care how good Seattle, if they keep winning games, and, the Rams, formidable, well-coached, Stafford on fire. But I don't know if there's really, outside of the Rams and maybe the Lions, just kind of putting it all together. But I feel like they're just kind of Bills. They're in a Bills mode right now. Gosh, are we going to be? I don't know. I think they're in that Bills mode. I just think Philly's just knocking teams' block off when they want to. And like I said, let's see if they start playing well. And in the AFC, I mean, Colts? Dare I say Colts? I wouldn't be surprised right now, though. Watch out if Baltimore can start running some table here. I would not be surprised if Lamar, doesn't miss another game and he's back, and they've been able to lick their wounds and get on a little bit of a hot streak, which they've had. If they can keep that working, 5 losses, they're at 5 losses. Yeah, they were 1-5, but if they finish 10-7, that 1-5 don't matter. Maybe they finish 11-6, the way they can maybe get it rolling. Maybe Baltimore, this is finally a year where things didn't have to be great or off to a great start, or expectations were lost early, where they can maybe find their way through and be the team standing in the AFC at the end of the day. Denver's good, but man, it seems like they just play with fire and play down to their opponent. And so, they just feel like the kind of team that will have a home game in the playoffs and lose it, to a wild card team or something, and, lose to the Chargers at home or something, or, whereas Philly feels like a team that just go on the road and hold you to 7 in your building. So that's the difference there with me on that. But, yeah, I think I get more and more excited, not just because the Ohio State Buckeyes are in the driver's seat, but I get more and more excited this time of the year to really start figuring out the map of the college football playoff. And now the college football playoff bowl season, as much as I was a college football fan, bowl season, right when the seasons were over and you knew kind of your bowl team matchup and some other ones, it was whatever. You waited for that national title game at the middle of January. It was like big deal. Now this is a race to really looking forward to what the college playoff will be able to put together. And there's going to be some good teams in it. There's some good teams out there. I think Ohio State's a little step above. As I said, Indiana, Georgia are probably the 2 teams that would alarm any bells. If they could get going on a football field and play the right kind of game, they could take the Buckeyes down. Anybody could in college football, just like the NFL, any given Sunday. But yeah, so that's about that. NBA, college football, pro football. I was sick. Anything else out there? Anybody want to tell the Epstein files? That's no surprise, right? Just an absolute, Class A. I did want to talk about Class A. Thank you. Incredible. I mean, this is incredible. But I think stock, it's funny that I said Epstein files, and then you said Clase, and I really did want to compare the two in a way, because what Clase did and what he thought was just okay. This is what it is. This is the kind of just the idea of just going, yeah, sure, for $7,000, I'll do this. But I think a lot of it really comes down to, just generations and people, whether it's, I'm not saying this is generational. These young people today, they don't have to deal with consequences, and this is why they find themselves in these actions. I'm not saying it that way. I'm saying there are certain people that when they don't have to ever really deal with consequences, the Epstein list, these are all people. The reason why these people are all on the list is because they were either born into the type of life, whether they're 80 years old or not, they were born into the type of life, or they made the type of life for themselves where consequences became nothing. It didn't matter what their behavior was. They never had to face consequences. They were either born into that and rode that out, or they worked their way into that type of lifestyle. And Clase was at that point. I think Clase was a kind of a guy that was already at that one contract. He was ready to do another one. And Clase was at a point where, it's a pitch. What are they going to do? I'm the Mariano Rivera Award winner. Big deal. It's one pitch. And then I'm going to recruit this guy. Luis Ortiz is the real. I won't say I feel bad for Luis Ortiz because he was stupid enough to do what he did and to think that that was just going to be okay. I will say that Luis Ortiz, without Emmanuel Clase, Luis Ortiz does not get caught. And Luis Ortiz is a willing victim. All right. And I'll put victim in quotes. He's a willing, quote, unquote, victim. And what's crazy about Luis Ortiz is that he couldn't even hide. He couldn't even hide it. It was like he was like joining a pyramid scheme, and he couldn't even hide it. Like he threw the one pitch they show he threw. It was like 50 Cent throwing out the first pitch. I mean, it was so bad. It's like, wait, and how stupid it's like Clase and these guys to be like, yeah, man, nobody's gonna worry about a bet made on Luis Ortiz. Yes, they are. Actually, with the amount of poverty, I do too. Okay, I agree. I said this, though. At this point, Clase had made a boatload of money. And I do think there's probably a part, and I wouldn't disbelieve if Clase came out and his defense was, look, man, I was just trying to help a couple of buddies of mine make a decent life for themselves in the DR. And these guys, da-da-da-da. And if evidence could show that it was a small network, a very, very small network of a few guys in the DR that this dude's known his whole life that he was trying to, sock some cash away for, and his little gift was, this or that, and I can help Luis Ortiz, whose family is this or that. Hey, if the evidence can show that that small network existed, I could almost, go along with it has a lot to do with the poverty in the DR. But if it's a larger network and it was a network where you just thought I can get my hands on it could be a mindset. I mean, it could be a mindset. I will say this. maybe a guy like Clase gets to 34 million, and maybe Clase gets people around him to say, hey, look, he's had enough education through maybe Major League Baseball's, interventions with how to, these guys, all these leagues have guys that speak to these guys, help them have services to set up their wealth, whatever. Maybe Class A got to a point where my accountant handles everything, my property. I don't ever have my hands on money, and $7,000 back, that mentality of like, I don't really know where all my money is. They say it's in this house. They say it's in the house I bought for my mom. They say it's in the couple of cars I bought and the nice thing. And they tell me, how much money. Yeah, I basically live with a Major League Baseball team that pays everything else as I go along. Like, yeah, maybe the mindset is $7,000 cash or whatever it is, 4,000 this time, 10,000 next time. That's fun. And gambling's fun for people. It's not really fun for me. I mean, I can see what you mean by having some fun. It is leisurely in a sense where I'm like, ooh, if I'm in Vegas, I'll play. It's fun because you're doing something socially, right? It's like karaoke, but you're putting money on it. So that's how I look at it. But other people look at it as the biggest rush of their lives. How much of that has happened before gambling was regulated? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to, the old black market of gambling, they may have had over-unders on pitch speeds, but man, the things that they can bet on because it's, legal and there's a stamped time history and all of the things that can just be alive. And now the next live bet, and baseball is very susceptible in the live betting scheme, I would think. Football as well. Tennis is having a problem. I know a guy that works in like security for tennis for this type of thing, because tennis is having this problem right now because there's enough double fault. This person never double faults. I'm going to parlay a double fault with then an ace right behind it or whatever. So it's these sports where, there's a live bet. You can bet on that pitch. You can bet on that serve. You can bet on that snap. Basketball is a little faster pace. Maybe you can bet on, after a timeout, you can bet on, whether somebody's going to be the next basket to score. Or, it's hard to do, I would think, in live betting, next basket to score. I mean, how do you do? It's just like they scored within 4 seconds of each other. Guards contracted $26 million on it. Well, I mean, I don't know in what world like anybody thinks that would have been a smart thing to do. Especially in today's, just like everybody gets caught. Everything's got a digital footprint. There isn't anything that doesn't have a digital footprint. So it's, you sit there and you go, what are you doing? Like you've been told, like you had to have been told, like, even the kid that it's like, I likened this the other day to a guy he was asking me about it. And I go, he goes, what do you think of that? And I go, you just know. He's like, yeah, but he's probably thinking it's just one pitch. I go, yeah, but it's still gambling on baseball. And you just kind of still know that, especially the times they told it to you. And even if nobody ever told it to you, it's kind of like, if your parents never told you about sex and where babies came from, eventually you're gonna, you know about the Pete Rose, about what Ohtani just did, about the 1919 Black Sox. Like you just know that gambling and baseball, no. Just like it's just like nobody ever explained it to me. Yeah, well, nobody ever explained sex to you either. But eventually you're just like, yeah, man, all those stories, that's how it all goes. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah, you do it that way. And then you don't do it. gambling. You just don't do it, even if nobody told you about it. So it's just like, what world do you live in where you go, this is a good idea at all? So it's crazy. It's crazy. Clase and Ortiz, and you talk about one of the best closers of his era at this point. You know, I mean, he was on even the off season he had last year, or the year he was having up until the suspension wasn't, his best year. He was still statistically, right at the top of all closers. He was already starting to kind of find his rhythm a little bit. And 2024, 2025, I mean, the guy was untouchable. And so Ortiz, who has great stuff, big bright future, and you sit there and you go, what are you guys doing? They literally have sit in a meeting every spring to talk about gambling. Of course they do. It's the only rule that Major League Baseball in the rule book has over every exit way. Like, the play like a champion today on the way out of Notre Dame, they have that rule of gambling over that door. The only rule they have printed in the clubhouse ever since 1919. And but yeah, it could come back to any of those factors. It could come back to the idea, the sexiness of just having cash in my hand again, because, man, I never seen so much cash. Or when I signed that contract, all of that just went into that was just being pencil pushers, just took my money and moved it around all these places. I never saw it. I never got to hold it. I never got to go out and spend a wad of cash. So that could be it. Helping some people in the DR could be it. I hope it comes back. Not that to say that baseball will forgive them and they did the right thing, but I do hope some evidence comes back to a smaller network, something that at least can be explained, not excused, but explained in a better, at least translation to people to think, pardon the pun translation, but for people to think, yeah, I mean, it's a tragic, you give them more of it's a tragic tale, perspective than you're a fucking stupid idiot perspective. I hope something comes out. I hope enough evidence in their favor comes out to it being a smaller network and something that you just go, man, what a tragic tale. What a sad reason to do that, instead of, fuck them, they're idiots, they deserve to be banned for life, which, depending on what the evidence says, that's going to be the court of public opinion for the most part. I mean, there's always going to be people that are just like, you fuck them, they're stupid, they deserve it. But you don't want everybody saying that. You don't want everybody. You don't even want the, people with empathy saying that. But coming up on an hour, little residual cough there. Have a little coffee. I forgot about my coffee. Stock, you working from home? You still there? Are you the one guy viewing me right now? We had, I think, 5 at one point. But yeah, so I'll say halfway through the NFL season, I say Eagles repeat. Halfway through more than halfway through the college football season, I'll say Buckeyes repeat. And I'm going to try to parlay that. Eagles, Buckeyes repeat on the same ticket. And also going to research. I'll get back to you in the comments whether NFL back-to-back titles. What are you LOLing? That both teams repeat? You don't think both teams are going to repeat? NFL back-to-back. Whew. Huh. There has been, you forget now, 8 teams have won back-to-back Super Bowls. Green Bay, the first 2. Miami Dolphins. Pittsburgh Steelers twice. San Francisco 49ers, Dallas Cowboys, Denver Broncos, New England Patriots, and the Kansas City Chiefs. I would garner to say no national champion repeated during that era. If at all, perhaps 49ers. Did Miami ever repeat? I don't think they repeated. That's it. I really don't have much more. Who won the Super Bowl 112 and 12? What? 2011 and 12? 2011 and 12. Packers. So that means Packers won in 11. And Giants won in 12. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Packers won in 11. Giants won in 12. So there hasn't been one. And I garner to say there's never been one. This could be the first year that Philly and Ohio State. That's about it. Anything else? I got nothing. Right at an hour. Right at the time I wanted to do it. I left the little blinds open too. Are you betting it? I like it. It's like it's a decent parlay. I mean, if you're going to throw a little bit of money at gambling, at least have a little life shelf on it. Good shit, man. Thanks, brother. Hopefully more people will start tuning in. I did the open blinds effect, so it's like kind of like the Today Show because it's live, and then you can like see people. Maybe I'll start getting some fans that like. Yeah, maybe I'm going to start maybe paying a guy to be like, Buffalo, New York in the house. Like those guys that have like a big sign behind like the Today Show. I'm just going to put like a couple of people back there. Just like move this there and put like a couple of people just back there. Just put it on Craigslist. Just tell them like, hey man, who wants to be people on Craigslist? Hey, who wants to be live on the air on YouTube? Who wants to? Anybody looking for a TV credit? Yeah, man, I'll hold a sign that says "Love you, Lawhead" from Tijuana, right? Sure, I'll love that. Yeah, that'd be great. Just have a bunch of paid actors back there. But anyway, bro, someone just walked past. Yeah. Well, I got to do it on Tuesdays. I could do. You could have the landscapers out there. It's sponsored by them. Maybe get them to sponsor it, and then I'll just do it while they landscape. And I sponsor the company can sponsor. Anyway, good times. See you next week. Maybe Wednesday. Like I said, this is my third one. I've done them on Thursdays. I'm going to shoot for Wednesdays, but I wanted to do it yesterday. But man, I was way too sick, so I figured, 3 Thursdays in a row. Maybe I'll come Wednesdays. Maybe we'll expand it. Maybe if I can get, the lawn care company to sponsor it, we'll expand. But peace out. Have a good one. See you next week. Lawhead's Court Live out. Get noise suppression first. Yeah, whatever. Peace.